Welcome back to Conservation Conversations. It's a real pleasure to have you here today because I've got a very special guest who is going to tell us all about how to conserve rare natural spaces that are so important to people and especially kids learning about habitations and conservation in the city. And so I can't wait to reveal who that is and get the conversation going. But for now, just the news update from Stornoway. We're really excited to be going out to South Africa at the end of this month for our collaboration with Ladysmith Black Mambazo. If you've heard that choir before, it may have been on the album Graceland with Paul Simon, or it may have been on the Lion King soundtrack. I think they were on there. They've been around for about 60 years and they're really excellent. So wish us luck. We're going to try do ourselves proud and do the project justice. And just one more big thanks to the Music Export Growth Scheme for helping us stump up the cash to get ourselves out there and do this magical collaboration. Can't wait to show you the results. Otherwise, please make sure you've pre-ordered your copy of Beyonder, which is our new album out in September. And come and see us on tour, either this summer, lots of festivals to choose from, or in October and February, we have gigs galore. So get booking. And there's loads more that's currently being planned and booked in for Stornoway. 2027 is going to be a very exciting year. Okay, so without further delay, I'm really so excited to bring to you today one of the directors at the Forth Reserve, which is a Southeast London space for conservation and for public enjoyment of all the great things nature has to offer. So this is Anna Maria from the Forth Reserve. Hi, Anna Maria. Welcome.
Hi, hello.
It's a real pleasure to talk to you today. I know we've not actually met in person before, but I've been down to the reserve several times and taken the family along and always had the best time. And I was really proud to be able to do some fundraising for you guys last year. But tell us about what exciting things are happening at the reserve at the moment.
Well, at the Nature Reserve, it's a great time of year because spring and summer is when we can open our doors to the public more. And so there's been a lot. We've had one open day, which you came to, which was wonderful, which was part of a National Day of Action for Green Space. So we had lots of activities. We had a maypole and kids garland making and all sorts of things. And then when we're not seeing the public, we're doing a lot with local schools. So this morning we had a group of autistic children come and use the space to connect with nature in quite a safe and lovely environment for them. And of course, we're doing all our volunteering. So at the moment, there's a big wildflower seeding project going on to attract more bees and butterflies and bugs to the site. So yeah, lots going on at the moment.
That's great. And I think one of the reasons I was most excited to book in this chat was because over the past months, I've been following very closely the struggle really to get Forth Reserve's space guaranteed. It's still uncertain, isn't it, about what's going to happen with the land surrounding you guys. Can you tell us a bit, in case
Yeah.
anyone here hasn't seen the stories that I've been posting on our channel?
Mhm.
Explaining the status.
Yeah, so there's a section of land called the Buckthorn Cutting, which is about sort of an 8 acre area of woodland that runs beside the railway track. So half of that at the moment we look after. We're stewards of that land, which is where the open days happen. The other half is owned by a property developer and has been for about 30 years now. And that piece of land we want to reconnect with the nature reserve. It's very special because it's got ancient woodland status, and interestingly, it's got a long, long history of community engagement and outdoor education. So we want to bring that back, but we are really struggling over the last sort of couple of years because despite doing a massive fundraiser and getting, over £100,000 to buy the woodland, and despite more and more designations being placed on the land that are aimed to protect it, it still hasn't come back into public or community ownership, and it's still owned by a developer who is allowing it to basically fall into neglect. And yes, so that's where things are with that at the
And
moment.
And the fear, right, is that they could sell the land, even though we've had kind of commitments from the council that that wouldn't happen. It still looks like it might.
It's every day there's a different thing happening. It's an asset of community value. So in that sense, it's not supposed to be sold off by the landowner without consultation with the council and the community, and a process through which we're supposed to be able to buy that back. The developer is skirting around those rules, to put it nicely, and they're not following the legislation. So they put it up for sale for 3 million in November last year, despite the fact that it's only valued at 60,000. And then they took it off the market, and now they're saying they're going to list it again for 2 million. So there's lots of struggles in terms of trying to work out what they're doing, why they're doing it. They know the real value, and yet they're putting it up for a value that I don't think anyone in their right mind would buy for, because it's got no building potential because of all the designations that are on it. So we're in this kind of weird sort of planning system that is really hard to navigate.
Yeah.
But what's interesting at the moment is just yesterday in the House of Lords, a bill was finally passed called the Community Right to Buy Bill, which
Okay.
before yesterday, it was Community Right to Bid. That's now changed to new legislation, which actually supports the community more than developer. So there's a little bit of hope. So we're at an interesting crossroads, and we're wondering now if the developers attempt to sell it is because they know this bill was coming through, and they're trying hard to get it off their hands before the legislation comes into
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
So we're a bit of a grey area at the moment, where we don't know how long it's going to take before councils adopt this legislation, and what could happen in terms of the developers' plans in the meantime. So it's a really weird and worrying situation, but also
Yeah.
there's a glimmer of hope that things might be easier than the compulsory purchase process, which is
Yeah.
one that the council are quite afraid of. Yeah,
Well,
so
it's you guys are doing an amazing job of keeping the kind of the tone of the place and all the events around there very optimistic. So we come along on the open day, as you mentioned, and it's just so full of love and positivity and collaboration with all the people there, the community choirs, the fiddle bands playing around the campfire,
yes.
all that stuff. It's a real centre of hope for the local community, I think.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, because we're able to provide a lot of services to local schools, it means we've got a lot of parents that have fallen in love with the place through their children. And that has been our biggest source of support. And parent power is quite amazing. So yeah, it's been, and our volunteers as well. We've got, I think you referred to them as an army of volunteers before,
Yeah,
and they really are. They're a wonderful bunch, but people bring an awful lot of skills to the table, in terms of musicians, artists, lawyers, people involved in planning. So we're getting a really protective circle around us of people who've got the skills to help us get through
yeah.
this. So we're very, very lucky that we've got that space to show people what's possible.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, just for those tuning in from outside London, I'll be specific. This is a railway siding, you might call it,
Yeah.
in southeast between, say, Brockley and Forest Hill, and it's on the sides of the railway line. So you've got these trains passing every 30 seconds at peak times, but despite that, there's this cacophony of amazing bird song and signs of wildlife and greenery and trees in very tip-top healthy condition. I mean,
Mm,
there's so much um, greenwashing out there about, plant a tree because it's great, and if you bank with us, we'll plant 100 trees for you. But it's not necessarily always the best thing to plant any old tree. You have to
mm,
plant the right ones in the right way and look after them. And you guys, as well as the team up at Blythe Hill Fields, where they've built a wildlife garden and an orchard and these
mm,
biodiversity friendly swales. I know both of your teams think very hard about what types of trees being planted when, in what ratios. So
mm,
yeah, and I think I'd encourage anybody within range of Southeast London there to come and pay it a visit at some point. Your community events are really something to be part of. And then I wanted to ask you today about conservation approaches. So, as part of the biodiversity efforts you make there, you mentioned there's a lot of different people on the team. How careful or how long does it take to make the kind of careful decisions you're making about what to plant where, or what projects to undertake?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the projects that we undertake are in response to guidance around important habitats that need to be encouraged. So, for example, orchards, hedgerow, wildflower seeding, and swales. You mentioned swales, or they're called suds sometimes. They're the kind of habitats that make a massive impact. And with the swales and the suds or wildlife ponds, they've all got different. As soon as you introduce water to a space, everything changes almost instantly. You can see the dragonflies coming, the birds come and start washing themselves in the water, the foxes come to drink, and it's almost like everyone's heard about this new venue, and all the wildlife come to it. But it's wonderful to see. So yeah, a lot of it is informed by data about how much habitat is lost. So wildflower meadows, for example, I think 97% or something has been lost in the last sort of 40 years. So that told us that's something that we needed to do. And we also had a bug survey done, which showed us that we had a very low number of bugs because we had too much bramble, but we had a high number of unusual bugs within that. So we knew that we needed to change the landscape and have a better balance. So
Yeah.
the wildflower seeding is one of the projects that was informed by the ecological survey that was done. So yeah, and hedge laying is just one of the most wonderful things that you can do, especially along a railside track, because you can lay a lot of the trees and protect them from being cut by Network Rail in the future to protect the track. So you kind of able to do save the trees as well as provide a massively important habitat for hedgehogs and dormice and that kind of stuff.
I see. And when you talk about the say hedge laying as an example of a pretty tough task for a volunteer or team of volunteers, um, there's on one hand something called voluntourism, where people come in and think they're doing a good job but might not be doing it in the right trained way. But at the other extreme, I know you've got, say, your midweek cuckoos, who are the group that turn up twice a week and do amazing work there because they are being instructed and trained properly. um, is there Are you aware of maybe somewhere on that spectrum, from highly useful, valuable conservation work to less good, less impactful? Is there like a package that you guys offer where you get like corporate volunteers in as part of their volunteering day each year, and maybe the company sponsors them at a
Mhm.
few £100, and they come and do good work for you?
Yeah, we do corporate volunteering, and but we need more of that actually, because often with corporate volunteering, they don't just bring a team that will help you on the day; they also give you money,
Mhm.
which is incredibly valuable because it's unrestricted money that you can spend on what you need, and you don't have to write a long grant to get it. So, for example, we had Barclays Bank come last year to do some hedgerow tree planting, and they gave us £1,000 plus a team of volunteers for half a day
Wow.
to do some tree planting. So that was amazing. But we need more of that kind of corporate volunteering because it's useful in two ways. You've got a body of volunteers,
Yeah.
and it's also team building because they love it. A lot of these people are stuck in an office all day,
Yeah.
um, and they get an opportunity to be with the people they work with in a different environment, and they really, really enjoy
Yeah.
themselves. And then you sit down, have a cup of tea and biscuits, and it's just a really nice thing to do. So yeah, corporate volunteering is fantastic, but it's finding the businesses and making that connection is quite tricky. So although we have a couple, if anyone is out there that wants a space, we'd love to have people come.
That's a proper call out to any Stornoway fans tuned in who have, I don't know, strings they can pull there, or favors that they can bring in and send companies in the direction of the Fourth Reserve here. So it does have a
Mm.
big impact. And then going back to what you said about the minute you add water to a habitat, it changes everything for the better to an extent. Our singer Brian, as his day job, he's the manager over at the Llanelli Wetlands Centre for the Wetlands and Wildfowl Trust, Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust. And he's always said to me, and we were actually there a couple of weeks ago for a video shoot on the salt marsh, and he was saying how, yeah, the ability of a salt marsh and a wet habitat, like you were saying, add water, um, it to sequester carbon is much higher than, say, just planting any old tree,
Mm.
or leaving a place to rewild. If you can make it a semi sort of amphibious habitat and increase the biodiversity that way, the ability to pull the carbon in, and it really increases. And I wanted to ask about how you guys measure your impact at the Fourth Reserve there, related to, say, any carbon statistics or initiatives that you have to report. Is that something you have to do?
Yeah, we don't really have to report on carbon. We report back. So there's two ways of reporting. One is with Lewisham Council. So we're part of biodiversity partnership group. So 4 times a year we feed into Lewisham Council's data, and we do things like how many habitats have we created, what type of habitats, how many trees we planted, how many volunteer days, how many children, and then they pull that all together to create one big sort of spreadsheet of impact in Lewisham. And that Lewisham are pretty good in terms of their green space volunteers. So we do that. Aside from that, a lot of it is survey based. So we would get a baseline survey done. And then, say 3 years later, we would do a follow-up survey to see what the difference has been made. Again, that's a cost. So surveys, professional surveys, cost quite a lot of money. An insect survey over 4 days can cost about £4,000.
I see.
So it's hard to get them, and it's hard to get funding for surveys as well. But we have got Green Routes funding through the London Mayor. So
Hmm.
at the moment and part of that is for an insect survey next year. So we'll be able to compare that to the one we did 4 years ago to see what the impact has been with the wildflower work that we've been doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's brilliant. That's really fascinating. And then I need to ask you about music, because we always ask all our guests about how music means to them. And maybe I could
Mm.
ask if there's a particular favorite track that you associate with the space that you manage there, or
Gosh.
yeah, what does
Well,
music
on
mean
a
to you?
very personal level, um, I really like Irish music. I really like Lisa O'Neill, and a guy called Ronan O'Snoda who plays the baron. Um, and they're probably my two favorite people. I'm an artist, so I do lots of wildlife
Okay,
art. And whenever I put a backing sound, I always end up picking them because they've just got a beautiful sound, and it's very rhythmic and it's very in tune with the environment, I think.
brilliant.
Yeah, so they're my personal favorites. But yeah, I think all the volunteers would come up with different answers to that.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. I really wanted to, yeah, possibly get you guys some free passes to some Stornoway gigs coming up, if you like what we're doing musically, because it's one of the ways of, yeah, just saying thanks to anyone out there who's doing great conservation work that's properly informed and has a good impact. Um,
Yeah.
and we'll also certainly share the links with everyone who's seen this episode. We'll send out the links to the BBC interviews you've done around the conservation work and the
Yeah.
urgency of the work that's being done. So, yeah, thank you.
That'll be wonderful. Thank you very much. And we'd definitely love tickets. That'll be amazing.
Okay. Yeah, hold
Thank
me to
you.
that. Thank you. Great. Well, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you, Anna Maria. And is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Like they can, like a campaign they can get behind, or something to get excited about, or is it just a general call for volunteers and corporate connections?
Well, we'll be having our next open day on the 21st of June. So if anyone's around and wants to come along, we'd love to see you there. But if anyone wants to drop me an email fourth.reserve@yahoo.com, about anything, volunteering, open days, how we can collaborate with things, or joining our mailing list. Just get in touch.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I can't encourage people strongly enough. Definitely go do that, and I hope to see you at the reserve at that next open day.